How is your Monday afternoon?
Hey, Scott, thank you very much. Yes, Steve is on a little well-earned vacay time. He'll be back with us tomorrow. So it'll just be me today. Welcome, everybody. As I think it was Dave commenting on how long it's been since we had an office hours webinar. Yes, you're right. It feels like forever, especially since we had just completed our test drive for the prior 2 weeks. So here we are at the end of October. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for popping in and listening to what we have to say. So before we get rolling here, just a quick reminder or the disclaimer, make the attorneys sleep a little bit easier here. Just want to make sure that everyone in attendance is aware of the fact that all the information that we share with you guys, whether it's this webinar or any of the other ones that we have coming at you on a weekly basis, is for educational purposes only, simply meaning we do not dispense buy and sell recommendations or investment advice. If you do need something like that, please seek out a registered investment advisor or someone like a Series 7 licensed stockbroker that is legally allowed to dispense that type of information to you. So just to clarify, all the info that we share with you guys is for educational purposes only. All right, moving right along here. Always like to take a little bit of time at the top of the hour, especially for the new folks that might be in attendance, to give you an idea about the community that we've built around the technology that is TI Pro. If you have not been taking advantage of our trading room hosted by Barry Anderson, this is definitely something that you want to do. If you've priced out trading rooms all over the web and did your exploring, you've probably realized that the ones that are worth their salt are not cheap, okay? Usually pretty pricey. The good news about ours is there is no charge whatsoever. It's a very mature room. Could be 300, 400, 500 people in there on any given day. And Barry does a fantastic job at moderating such a large crowd, showcasing the way that he uses the technology and his trading style. And when the market slows down a little bit, he doesn't mind answering questions as well. So if you haven't gotten into the trading room and you're one of our newer subscribers from Test Drive, by all means, get signed up, take advantage of the trading room. Of course, on Mondays, you typically get myself and Steve. Of course, today it's just me. Every other Monday, we have office hours and the Q&A demo. That's the way it is now. Trade of the week is going to be on Tuesdays every other week, along with Andy's Trading Studio on every other Thursday. So those are all the 5 p.m. Eastern webinars that we have coming at you bi-weekly now. Of course, we do have our daily support session. And to the individual that was asking about, getting more in depth into back testing before the webinar began, this is a great place to go. It's Monday through Friday every day, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. The next slide here will show you how to get there. trade-ideas.com/live, okay? That's our YouTube channel. It's a static address, so once you go there, you can just easily bookmark that address. Same bat time, same bat channel every day. Great place to get any question answered about the technology that is TI Pro, whether it's a simple configuration issue, back testing, or any other thing that you might be able to think of there. So the live support session every Monday through Friday. Now, as far as educational resources go, this is also a great video series that we also have archived on our YouTube channel, Trade Ideas YouTube channel, 101 through 401 TI University. Especially if you are brand new to the product, you must watch these. You're really missing out if you don't watch 101 and 201, get you through a lot of the basic functionality, helps take a lot of the confusion out of the product. So you'll definitely get over the learning curve quicker than later by watching these 101 and 201. And of course, once you're ready for the more advanced topics, well, then you can migrate on over to 301 and 401. But since these are all archived on our YouTube channel, you can stop and start them at your leisure and just pick up when you're ready to absorb more information. So once again, TI University at the Trade Ideas YouTube channel. All right, here we are at today's agenda. So typically Steve's going to do the market recap. I'll do my best to kind of broach that topic here. Of course, it's not too hard right now, simply because, as you can see, the party is back on. Here we are today, closing at that all-time high level again. Just above it, you can see Friday we had the little doji. Wasn't an official close. Now it did creep into all-time highs post-market on a Friday, but we can see the little doji candle there. We didn't get the close above. Of course, the doji always means something. There's a pretty good chance that something's going to happen. Of course, we never know if that's going to be to the upside or the downside. But in the case of the SPY, it did act as a trampoline, and boom, we bounced right up there today. Got a good close, as we can see over here from the intraday. A little swoosh to start the day, and then just a nice grind up, and we were able to maintain those levels going into the close. Got a little wiki right there at the close on that last 15-minute candle, but nope. Bulls are definitely in control. We got that close higher. We'll have to see what happens moving forward. Now, hey, I'd like to see a nice little trend up here. But of course, since we just barely closed above that level, if I had to place a bet here, we're either going to see a little sideways action tomorrow, or we could see, higher highs. We'll just have to wait and see. It's interesting to see that the SPY took this long. You've probably heard myself, Steve, Andy, Michael talk about RSP, okay? A little bit different of a story here with the RSP, which is simply just an equally weighted version of all the SPY components. So obviously today we got the little doji close today, but we had already been above all-time highs for the prior 3 days. SPY finally making that move today, since it is a little tech heavy laden with some of the bigger FANG stocks. But the RSP, the more equally weighted S&P tracking ETF, third day above, actually fourth day above, we could say. So party time with the SPY and the RSP. Of course, the Qs, no big surprise here, lagging a little bit because of the overweighting in the tech sector as well. Got a little bit of room here. A little bit of a room, there you have it. So we're currently at, let's just call it 379. We got the highs up here looking about 382.78 to be exact. So wouldn't be at all surprised to see a little gap, a little excursion into this area tomorrow. If we don't see that in the queue, well, that'd be a little concerning. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, IWM, will it finally punch, get back up into this upper level here? We can see it is butted right up against this candle from September. If we get into this area here, of course, we got to get some closes above this level. But once we do that, well, then all of this is fair game as well. I believe I've got my chart compressed all the way back to the high here. Tell you what, let's just zoom out, take a look at the weekly. Pretty sure that's accurate. But same song, same dance here, right? Weekly, getting up into that area. Going back to the daily, same song, same dance there. So if the IWM does make it into this area and makes a run for all-time highs there, that's definitely going to be a bullish signal. We've certainly seen a large majority of small dollar stocks go on some crazy rallies. So before we get into the content for today, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about DWAC, talk about low dollar stocks making huge runs, $9 and change, DWAC topping out almost at 200 there over the course of Thursday and Friday of last week. And of course, we did have the same type of action from a relatively young SPAC in the form of backed holdings, only been in existence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look at that close on Friday. 5 days of trading in the $8, $9 range, and then poof, man, we're already up at 40 bucks post market. And just keep in mind, this thing opened up today. What do we have there? Official open of 1390. Prior close here was 803. So this could be the beginning of, small cap type rally things. Of course, backed is a little special considering what they do, but sure does make trading a lot more fun when we're getting these big runs in these smaller cap stocks. The multiples are just getting kind of outrageous here. But hopefully it's not over. Hopefully it might just be the very beginning as the IWM potentially sets up to make a run for all-time highs. And then we have all the indexes there, and well, you know what happens when that happens. So should be an interesting week moving forward. Okay. All right, what do we have in the form of compare counts today? Well, if we take a peek here, and for those of you who might be new to the product, compare count windows are a window that we have available easily just by going to new and selecting compare counts. This allows us to set up basically inverse strategies. In this case right here, what you're seeing is simply things hitting highs and hitting lows with a market cap of 4 billion or higher. What I like to do is take this reading after the first 15 minutes, help maybe give me an idea of where the market might be headed for the rest of the session. So we got a pretty lame count today. We were 51% bullish, which typically when I see 51%, I'm thinking anything goes here. We could have some nice upside, could have some nice downside, but just be nimble, be quick, watch the charts, let them dictate the action. And of course, looking at the SPY today, once again, little swoosh on the open, but then just a nice grind up for the remainder of the day. And if we notice here, the 10 period pretty much stayed in control, dictating that price action all the way into the close. So just kind of a non-event today as far as my big cap compare count spit out today, but I do have some other interesting compare count information, which I will share with you guys later. So let's just move right along here to the Holley recap. Holley wasn't too busy today. What do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 signals total. Most of those were longs. We did have one short, which was moderately profitable. So typically what I like to do is talk about 3 different things that might be present in the Holley trades or the AI trades on a daily basis. Is there any conservative versus moderate spread that we could have participated in? And what we do is we focus right here on conservative. This is the conservative column. For those of you who might be new, here's the moderate profit column. All right. We can always see why the AI closed the trade out by looking at the exit reason for conservative exits. So just to recap real quick here, it's been a while since I did this. What is conservative profit? Well, there are 5 reasons why the AI would exit the trade. Basic ones are a profit target or a stop loss was triggered or a timed hold. But we also have 2 audibles that the AI can close out a winner early or a loser early, and those come in the form of reduced risk. We had one of those today right here, and profit saves for the winners that are closed out early. Now, when we're talking about moderate profit, the AI is only going to use a stop loss. So either the stop loss triggers or the trade stays in until about 10 minutes before the close. Different strategies, some might hold until 5 minutes before the close, but if it doesn't get stopped out, it will just do the all-day hold thing. So those are the differences, and sometimes we see a spread develop between conservative and moderate. Now, in this short on BJ, we don't see that. We got a lesser value over here in the moderate profit column. We do have a tiny, tiny amount of spread in the BE trade right here, as well as the secondary BE trade. That was an interesting dual signal that we got from Holley today. But you can see the spreads are pretty minuscule. You know, we got less than $9 here. We've got less than $6 here, or less than 7, I should say. But before I progress here, want to make sure that everybody is aware where are these values being generated. And I'm risking $100 per trade, all right? So we can see, even though these were winning trades, if we're risking 100, not that huge on a return basis, risk to reward return basis, little over half here, not quite half here. And of course, a stop out down here, you can see, resulted in approximately a $100 loss, that being my risk. So not a whole lot of spread here. Now on some days, we'll see spreads of 2, 3, sometimes even 4 times greater. And we would take a look at those charts and go, okay, when I saw the AI make its conservative exit, I liked what was going on here. Therefore, I ignored the AI's conservative risk exit. I stayed in the trade, therefore taking more risk and hopefully was rewarded more. But there's just nothing to really look at in the form of that today. So just felt the need to kind of explain that. Now, there are 2 other things, all right? Trade arounds, which we had a great one in Simple today, and add-ons, all right? Which is a Holley or an AI trade already in motion, and you are able to identify a nice place to add to that position. So we did have a certain, it's a little bit different than normal. Usually the AI doesn't have double signals, but the way that the BE trade transpired today more or less acted like that. So we're going to talk about BE first, and then we'll talk about Simple, all right? Because even though there were very few trades to observe today, the BE and the SMPL really did have some added value that you just can't necessarily see in the numbers that we're seeing in the AI trades blotter today. All right. So first and foremost, the first BE signal came 9:48 Central Standard Time. I'm just 1 hour behind Eastern, and the second one about an hour later. So here we are looking at the BE intraday. Let me just get this adjusted a little bit here. So number one, a nice gap up on BE, okay? And we got a nice buy signal coming right about, 9:45, okay? 9:48 to be exact, but this is the 9:45 candle. Nice little signal, gap up, set its high, set its low. It just happened to coincide with a pretty identifiable range break, okay? Well, actually, not yet. I forgot about the wick there. It's kind of hard to see, but we did have a nice wick up there around the $27 area. So we're still range bound at the time that Holley calls this one. And the first one was a pullback, okay? And we can see the little wick right there in that candle, but it was a pullback nonetheless. That's where the first signal came from. Now, after that first signal came, as it marches along here over the next hour, this would have been a great time to add to the position, even if the second signal had not been generated. And you can see when I clicked on the 1048, exactly an hour after the first signal, now we are coinciding perfectly with that range break. So this would have been a great time to add to that position. Wasn't exactly a windfall, but was a nice little percentage gain on top of what we already had from the AI. Of course, all you had to do then was plan your exit, okay? But I want to tell you what gave me a lot of confidence to, to hit this trade not 1 but 2 times and then go a little bit heavier on the size is what I saw. Let's see here. And this is a window that I'm going to hand out again at the end of the session here, but along the same lines as my big cap mover compare count window, what you're looking at here today is a sector heat map, okay? We've got all the sectors in top list form, and I've attached a separate compare count window to each sector. So just imagine I'm watching this one in the first 15 minutes as well, and then I can see where the heavy buying and or the heavy selling is for each respective sector. Then I can make the decision, okay, do I want to follow the trend? Do I want to try to counter these plays? But just take a peek here. Look at all these things having pretty massive biases one way or the other. 94% selling in healthcare in the first 15 minutes. Consumer staples, 91, okay? Now, when the market turns at some point, I might pay more attention to the downside biases for shorting. Right now, if I even look at these, it's pretty much looking for support type plays and bounces since we are still in a bull market. But notice XLE down here, energy, okay? Notice what the bias was after the first 15 minutes. Kind of hard to see there, but that's 69% bullish, okay? So right off the bat, looking for potential long plays, my eyes are going to be focused on the energy sector. Now that doesn't mean I'm just going to start buying them, willy-nilly because each one has its own respective chart pattern. But when I saw the BE trigger from Holley, well, that was right up the alley. I'm like, okay, she's hitting something from the hot sector, okay? So not only do I have the sector telling me that there, or the compare count window telling me that there's massive buying in the opening 15 minutes, now we've got the AI going, hey, I'm hitting this energy stock, okay? And then it just happened to be a nice docile pattern, consolidation, and then the dual entry as well, exactly at the sweet spot, the second entry, as that upper range was broken, and we just got a nice little grind higher. So, keeping in mind that the first signal, staying into the close, generated 4.2%, the add-on or the second signal, 1.34, all while having the information that the energy sector was, blowing and going in that first 15 minutes, really did give me the, the confidence to not only make a couple of entries in this BE trade, but to, get a little bit heavier than I normally do. So like I said, I'll be handing out that heat map with the compare counts and sector top list at the end of the hour here. But it just goes to show you, when you see things line up, okay, in multiple windows and multiple information sources, well, that's powerful stuff. Okay, now let's talk about the trade around that came along in SMPL. Get that one up here. All right, and typically a trade around is something, the name is reserved for watching something after the AI gets stopped out, or engaging in that trade after you see the AI take a stop out on it, okay? Perfect example today in the SMPL. So here we can see AI got busy on that one pretty early, 27 minutes into the market, buy signal up here at the top, and then quickly, let's see, according to the exit time there, we were in that one about 16 minutes before whoosh, this big red candle came and snuffed out the party right here. Then what did the stock do after that? How did the stock react around this stop level? Did it act as a kind of a pivot or a support level, or did it just crash through here and never look back? I think the chart speaks for itself here. All right. So, keep in mind, you have to give this thing time to test that level, not once. We can see boom, boom, a nice bounce level there, all the way back down through it on a wick. Interestingly enough, the 15 or the 10 period there acting as a little trampoline. All right. This is where I took the trade right here, and you can see my B. That's where my, B plus, when I hit the buy button, flag that candle right there. One time through, a little jig up, another time down, and then in this candle, it had just came down again. I thought to myself, well, let's take a stab at it. Set my stop loss a few pennies below the original stop, and was able to stay in that trade for a nice little gain going into the close. Of course, you could have got out up here. You just never know how far these things are going to go. Sometimes they'll make it all the way back up through to the original signal. This one is running out of steam, so some nice profit potential up here. Even holding into the close, returned a decent little intraday trade there. So that's what we do when we see the AI get stopped out. It's always worth your time to take a look and go, okay, how's the stock going to react? If it just, these wicks are real, encouraging, okay? Is it just teasing it and snapping back up? Obviously, if you saw these bars closing below this level, you just would have been like, hey, I watched it, it's not acting right, I'll pass. But on the SMPL, worked like a charm today. So kind of like the second mouse trade, the second mouse got the cheese. We always laugh and use the example of when we all had to go into offices and trade. We'd hear a guy get stopped out. Maybe it was one of our fellow traders, a friend of ours. And we look at it and go, okay, well, take advantage of his pain, get a better price, lower stop level, and then the trade works. Second mouse got the cheese. But now you can use the AI as that sounding board. Okay, let me just take a look at the questions panel here. I think I've got it. All right, everybody's just being quiet. Nothing wrong with that. See a nice little crowd in here. Let me wet my whistle here before we proceed to the next topic. Okay, so some interesting stuff from the AI, even though low trade count, one good add-on from the B, and a nice trade around from the simple. And of course, as with any market condition, there are always going to be some nice choice opening range breaks to be had. And we did have quite a few of them today. Of course, I'm going to show you some of the tastier ones that were being delivered through my turbo breaks up, looking at high relative volume, and a couple of good short trades today as well. Many more of these located in this history today, and even a couple of good short ones. So let's take a peek at some of those. And by the way, this one did identify the DWAC the other day. You know, let's take a look. Let's just back up a little bit and look at the DWAC and how it traded the day before it went on its crazy run. Okay, so that was Thursday. Yeah, Thursday. Okay, look at how tame this thing was for the first part of Thursday. Okay, plenty of time to get in there and play that range break here or here, and then boom, you saw what happened the rest of Thursday, and then the tremendous gap on Friday. And then today, this one also identified the BKKT. But before we take a peek at that one, let's look at some of the more boring ones. All right, so a lot of these were happening in the first 30 minutes today, so I'm gonna squish this down to a 5-minute look. All right, so everybody can see pretty clearly here. Here we have XHB, which is an ETF. And recently what I've done here, just FYI in the versions that I'm going to distribute to you guys today, I have removed my earnings per share filter, which I was using to weed out ETFs, because sometimes on these SPACs that are coming through, there's no earnings, okay? And something was keeping it. All I know is the earnings per share filter was preventing some of the SPACs from coming through, so I've just removed it for the time being. Really a nice range break is a range break. I really don't care if it's an ETF or not. And this is a perfect example here today on the home builder ETF, right? So we had the opening candle. Here we put in a high up here, put in our low, and we're range bound 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a perfect little 30-minute opening range break, all right, that we had in XHB. Plenty of time to hit that thing liquid. It's a home builder ETF. These ETFs are typically pretty liquid. So just a really nice entry signal around about the 77.04 level. Now, if this is the entry candle here, 5-minute candles is what we're looking at. What I do to assess risk on these is look back, not including the entry candle, but at the prior 15 minutes. So we get 1, 2, 3. There's the prior 15-minute low. This is our risk area. And you can see at the top here, we had a nice juicy reward area that we could have fit the risk area in at least twice, maybe with a little bit of room left over there. So just a nice good old-fashioned range break happening at 30 minutes on XHB, coming through the turbo ups filter in the form of a new high with relative volume. How did XHB finish the day? As far as relative volume goes, for an ETF, not bad, 1.38, not nearly as high as some of these stocks and SPACs that we were seeing, but you know, in an ETF, anything above 1 is typically plenty of fuel to get the job done. And that was the case with this one today. All right, next on the list was this one. And once again, some people don't like to trade small dollar things, but hey, a percentage move is a percentage move. And it's all about the quality of the pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another 30-minute opening range break here. boom, you can barely see the gap there, but in this little candle right here, that's where this thing hit a high, all right about the 61 cent level, okay? Marked off the low of the prior 15 minutes down here, so extremely low risk. Nice little pop, nice little consolidation for the majority of the day, and presents a very nice add-on opportunity as we hit this level here. All right, so already in it from here, nice sideways action, boom, and then this thing tops out for a pretty big percentage gain at the top. Of course, you know, once we get up to these types of levels here, 89, all the way from 61 to 89, you know, once you see those types of returns, you have to start taking something off, okay? Of course, this one did come all the way back down, but hey, once you're in it and you're in the money, you got to start taking those profits and doing trailing stops or whatever it is that you like to do to protect your profits. So, you know, even if you would have stayed in this one till the close, you'd still be up, but the lion's share of the gains were given back today. But the good news is you were in it way early and then even had a nice opportunity to add to the position. How did the relative volume finish today? Well, you can see right here, 47.22. And the reason for this crazy action in this one today, not the only reason, but a big factor in this one today was the low float, 7.95 million shares in the float, so just shy of 8 million. When you have this type of volume coming into these types of floats, this is what you get, okay? Same thing happened in DWAC the other day. Same thing happened in BKKT, which we're gonna take a look at here shortly. But first, another high quality upside mover here. And this one was just really nice. This one just kept going all day long. SSYS, not exactly a micro cap here either. $2 billion company, as we can see down here. Beefier float, 65 million, but a beautiful entry signal coming right about, well, I'll give you the exact price here. That was 30.71, okay? Little higher up in this candle, but still, anywhere in this candle was money. Once you bought this thing, it was just a slow grind up for the remainder of the day. Very small risk area, as we can see here. And if I just mark off where we closed up here, this thing didn't back off 1 iota at the close. You know, just a massive risk to reward ratio on this one as well, just from a simple range break, all right? That's the beauty of this pattern. Does it look like this? You know, even if they're a little bit more stretched out, like the AXHB, the pattern is still discernible, but the smaller the range, the more we like it, or the more I like it anyway, because your risk is so small. Reward paid off handsomely in this one. How was the relative volume? Meager 5.75, a little bit bigger share float there, but just a nice performer all day long. Okay, and then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about BKKT. You know, and a little funny backstory about this. You know, I've been seeing this company for months and months and months, and what they're going to do, right? Of course, sometimes you forget about things, right? Always kind of had it in my head they were going to do an IPO, but they did the sneaky, took it through a SPAC. And as we can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of trading before today's monster day kicked in. I'm still kicking myself for not getting long some of this last week. It just slipped my mind. Sometimes that happens. A little painful, but it did present some nice trading opportunity today. Once again, we have a nice range break. But before we had that, we had this nice little gap up here, all right? They sold it off for about 15 minutes. And then we got this beautiful little rounded bottom pattern here, right? Little rounded bottom as it comes back up here, pops that new high, and then it was off to the races, all right? Set up very similar to the one we just looked at, because if you got the initial range break, which that one occurred about 35 minutes into the open at a price of $13.90, got the nice little lift, consolidation, and then a really nice opportunity to add to it right here. All right, for the lion's share of the move. Okay, so all the way from this original price, let's call it 14, and now the thing's up here at 42 post market. Just some insane type of action, but once again, meeting the criteria of a low floater, as we see down here. The float only 9.66 million. So under 20 is good, under 10 is better, and a huge relative volume level there, 181 million shares. So would the flip over about 18 times today, roughly speaking. So a good sign if you're long this one. And if you are, congrats. Know some of the guys here at the firm are in it to win it. But hopefully we're going to see more of these moving forward. The SPACs came along. Well, the SPACs have kind of been hit and miss. You know, they hit the markets with a fury not too long ago. Then they all kind of died off. Everybody kind of forgot about them. But boy, coming back with a vengeance now. Coming back with a vengeance. And of course, this one is crypto related. You know, Bakkt is the one that's enabling all these financial institutions to offer crypto to their clients, and then only adding fuel to the fire was the MasterCard announcement today. All right, so that's all we got for the long side. I did have a couple of short side nice movers today to talk about, which is just the inverse of the pattern that we're looking at now. All right. Of course, sometimes these take a little bit longer to play out and present themselves, but GDYN, perfect example of one today. Of course, if I mark off the high up here, we can see nice little run to the top. I'm not looking at this one. That would have been a little too soon, even though that does fit the bill of a 5, 10, 15, 20 minute opening range break. But this one, a lot more discernible, a lot more higher, I guess, signal, one could say, because we got this little rounded top here to look at. So we put in the bottom, take that snap back up, but boom, just kind of inch down here and see. The reason that this one was so appealing to me is because there wasn't a whole lot of energy expenditure. You know, if we were up here and had to waste all the energy to get down here in 2 or 3 bars, it's just not quality. It's too stretched out. But here we see, you know, buyers and sellers kind of equal and just inchworming down. So when we mark off risk on this one, which I thought I'd already done, we get this level here. Not including the entry bar, 5, 10, 15, so I'd have to push it up to that little green wick there. But we can see a very small risk area here, and the trade worked very nicely. Let's mark off this low here. And looking very similar to the SSYS trade that we saw that was strong into the close, this one is the exact opposite. Once this range here was broken, just a nice grind down, never really acted like it was gonna do anything other than. So once again, let's just flip back to the SSYS. Strong all day to the upside, short consolidation period. GDYN, same pattern, just inverted. So, you know, these are what I like to refer to as no sweat trades. Never really throws a wiggle, just a slow grind down. Nice small risk area up here that we could cram into this reward area multiple times here. All right, one more good one to look at here on the downside. This one happening a little earlier in the day. Cck Crown Holdings. This one coming to us at 104.48 right here. And once again, just a nice tight 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right about 25 minutes into the open, we get this little breakdown here. Oh, and by the way, forgot to look and see how guided finished on volume. Pretty healthy, 3.32. Not exactly the smallest float, not exactly the biggest. But when we look at CCK, 128 million, you know, this is a big cap company. So more than likely, I would have to think that this was some institutional volume getting out of this one and driving this downtrend today. But once again, very small risk. Here's the entry candle, 1, 2, 3. Look how small the risk area is. Look how big the reward area is. Doesn't matter if you covered here or even covering into the close, we got a substantial reward area here in a big cap stock. Of course, all the way down here would have been nice, but anywhere in this area that you covered produced a handsome return and a nice risk to reward ratio. So just keep in mind, there is no magic scan that's going to show us these perfect ones all the time, which is why we have to rely on either the opening range break alerts to the upside and downside, which still produce some pretty good ones. Only problem is, as you can see here, we have a limited cache of time frames, everything from 1 minute to 60 minute. Typically don't like, I personally don't like to hunt these until at least 20 to 30 minutes into the open. You can see here we max out at the 60-minute level. So after 60 minutes, you're on your own. But just keep in mind, if it's really breaking out, it has to be hitting a high, or if it's really breaking down, it has to be hitting a low. And that's why I watch these tickers for that type of action. All right, so I'll make sure that I drop these windows in the chat panel here before we conclude, along with that sector heat map, complete with the own specific compare counts for each sector. All right, just doing a little time check here. Good, we got time. We got 15 minutes left. So the new beta that we have for download, we've got some cool new toys in there. All right, so I'm just going to quickly walk through some of these new features in the latest beta before we conclude today. Now, notice what I'm seeing up here. All right, and I don't think these are in the new beta. I just downloaded the new developers version. This is the first time I'm seeing this, unless I'm really confused. But now, and I forget what the threshold is, it has to be inside of earnings by so many days. But now the chart up here is going to tell you earnings today after market close in CCK. All right, so just another way to get those earnings dates in front of you, start to show up on the chart. But like I said, that's not in the beta, that's just in the new version that I just downloaded in the past couple of days, the new dev version. So the new toys in the current beta for download, number one, if you click help, we've got our newly designed user guide, which is just super fantastic. One of our new team members, Stephanie, put this together from the ground up. As you can see right here, it's just trade ideas or trade-ideas.help. But I mean, it's everything, okay? Everything divides by topic. You can click on it. You can show the full table of contents and then look at the entire table of contents over here on the left. And we're constantly updating it too with the new features that come out. So really a big step compared to the online help that we had in previous versions. Just really thorough and a really great resource. So don't forget about the new user guide. You don't even necessarily have to bookmark it. You just go to help and it's the first option at the top here. Really good stuff. Now we also have a new window called the Market Explorer. So to access that, you would go to New from your toolbar and just come up here and find the Market Explorer. For those of you who are familiar with the GBI and RBI windows, you notice this probably looks a little bit different. It's running on the same servers that those windows do, which we kind of refer to as TI Quant, things that we can't necessarily do in the TI Pro client. So if we right click and go to server window, you can see the currently available scans in there. 820 cross or anything else that you might want to play around with, daily RSI divergence. Let's see here. And we can duplicate windows. So you're not just relegated to one. You can watch different windows, different strategies on different windows here, okay? And as time progresses, we will keep adding new scans. Right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but as time progresses, who knows how long this list is going to get. So don't forget about the new Market Explorer. All you got to do is go to New and click on Market Explorer there. All right, and lastly, the formula editor. Those of you who do like to use custom formulas know that, prior you had to go to the website, you had to log in, you had to do all your work outside of the client in the website portion. But now, let's see, where did we sneak that in? Of course, it might be under tools. Yep, there we go. Tools, formula editor is now part of the TI Pro client, okay? So this formula editor window pops up. I can quickly use the drop-down menu to see all my formulas. I can quickly, let's see, if I wanted to alter one or delete it, I could quickly click on this one. Boom, formula pops up. See all the titles here, modify it, delete it, add a new one. So this is just going to make it a lot easier to create those custom formulas. You don't have to go to the website anymore. It's all part of the client now. I like this little message that it's telling me, yes, this is valid for alerts and top lists. So just a much friendlier user interface for the formula editor. And, lots of good things coming down the pipeline for future releases as well. But that's just a quick overview of the three major things. A couple other ones that we don't really have time to talk about, but maybe we'll save that for the next session. Just scanning the questions panel here. Don't see any new questions coming in. Let me make sure. Ah, well, that's why. Okay. I do see some questions there. My queue was sorted by the wrong side of the time. I'm just scanning these questions, see if I can knock anything out. Yeah, Ignacio, the way that the AI calculates the profits over here, okay? So you can see this is aggressive profit right here. If you would have stayed in the trade until the close, all right, BE would have yielded 4.2% on that first signal there, okay? On the second signal, it would only yield 1.34. Now, I've got aggressive profit shown here as a percent, but you can always add percentage for moderate and conservative just by right-clicking and going to columns. And for example, if we wanted to add moderate profit percent, we could click here and push it over here, and then we'd have moderate profit percent too. And then we could do conservative, which is going to be reflective of the early closeouts as well. So I think that's what you might be getting at there. And Ravi, regarding your comment there, how much time will we get alert for stock trade? Well, if you're referring to the AI, we can see the entry times over here. That's the exact time down to the second that the signal was generated. And to your point there, Stuart, the Holley settings, entry stop, and profit target, yep, that is all part of the conservative risk mode in the AI. And David, the GDYN was produced by this window here, Turbo Breaks Down, which I'm going to drop into the chat panel in just a second. I tell you what, before I forget, let me just go ahead and drop all these windows in there. Sorry, I had a nice little Word document here that's getting covered up by the go-to panel. Okay, so all three of those windows are now in the panel. I tell you what, I cut off part of the title up there, so I'm just going to drop these again, just so it doesn't look all jumbled up there. Okay, so now we got the up, the down, and the sector heat map. And Mark, you were asking, so the trade around is not an AI call. That is correct. The trade around is watching the AI get stopped out of something. and then observing how the stock reacts around that stop level, okay? And if the stop level acts as a more or less a level of support, then taking a trade after the AI has been stopped out using some risk management right around that stop level looks a little weird here on the 5-minute, but if we go back to the 15-minute here, you can see the nice wicking action around that stop level there. So I hope that clarifies that for you. Yeah, I'm just trying to catch up on questions here. Yes, Jennifer, I just dropped all the windows into the chat panel here. So you should be able to access those cloud links from the chat panel. Amir, to your question, what time does the trading room open? Barry opens the doors 30 minutes before the open every day. All right, the scanner's voice alert is not working. Okay, well, there's a couple of different ways to, well, there's only one way typically. For the AI blotter, if you want audible alerts on the AI, we would right click here and we would click on actions, okay? We would check the play sound box. And then of course you have a variety of things that you can select, or you can import your own WAV files for the sounds. So that's how you would set up sound alerts for the AI. If you're talking about an alert window, same thing, we right click and we would find our actions, but we'd go to properties in the alert window first. Actions is hiding under there. And then you would set up your sound. Same format as we did in the AI. You just have to jump through one more hoop because in the AI, we can right click and go right into actions. Whereas in the alert windows, you right click, you go to properties and then actions to set up your audible alerts. Okay. Just making sure I didn't miss anybody. Yeah, and Ravi, to your point there, you understand, you know, you were saying this is for day traders, right? Well, a lot of the things that we showcased today here in the turbo up and turbo down for the range breaks, they are day trades. The AI is spitting out day trades as well. But a good example in this B here, all right, sometimes things that are signaled to us in, you know, day trade format end up being decent looking on the longer term for longer term trades. And if the energy sector remains strong, you know, we kind of closed at the bottom of this little range that I sketched out here today. But if energy strong again tomorrow, we might close up here at these levels that are currently, you know, kind of showing themselves to be levels of resistance or supply. So keep that in mind too. Matter of fact, Sean McLaughlin, one of our team members here, who I'm a little bit jealous of right now because he's in Hawaii, he looks through all the Holley trades every day, and then he will make a list and distribute that list via Twitter of the AI plays that he feels have merit from a swing trade perspective too. So, you know, that's a good exercise to get into, is once you see the AI, you know, at the end of the day, you could go through this list and look at the longer term, the daily, the weekly charts, because sometimes, even though it is intraday play from the AI, sometimes they turn out to be decent looking swing trade plays based on what you see on the longer term charts. Yes, and I'm sure he's not too thrilled about that. Hawaii's not such a bad place. Okay. All right, we're up against the top of the hour here. I know you guys have places to be, things to do, so I want to thank everybody for popping in today. Scott's going to walk us out here in just a second, let everybody know how they can save a little bit of cash on a new subscription or an upgrade. So Scott, if you're ready, we are ready for you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, a couple items on the way out. Everyone should make sure that they grab that favorite strategy ebook. It's put together by Dave Mave, who is our director of software development. So go ahead and grab that trade-ideas.com/strategy, free download. It's got some good concepts to use, and you can import some windows and layouts directly into your trade ideas. There's a sale for the test drive. We had a great test drive for 2 weeks, so we're extending the sale to open to everyone. Just use the code testdrive25, and for the next few days, save 25% off your first month or year of trade ideas or any upgrade from standard to premium. And you can also use the code Holley Rocks for 15% off the first month or year of trade ideas if that 25% code has expired before you get around to using it. You also can contact us, info@trade-ideas.com, for any help you need. It goes to our help desk. And Jamie Hodge is on Twitter at QuantBot. You can also find us at Trade Ideas, at TISteveG, Steve Gomez's handle. There's some other ones you can find. Trade Ideas Pro is the Facebook handle. So we're going to have the recording up later on tonight or tomorrow. And you get an email reminder tomorrow from GoToMeeting with a link to the playlist where you can find it. So thanks, Jamie. Thank you all. Have a good one.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Scott. We'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye-bye.